say day, me say day, me say day, me say day, me say day. Oh, daylight come and me want go.
Work all night, gonna drink no rum. Daylight come and we want go home. Stack the gun until the morning come. Daylight come and we want go home. Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and we want go home. Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and we want go home. 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch. Daylight come and we want go home. 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch. Daylight come and we want go home. Day, we say day, oh. Daylight come and we want go home. Day, we say day, we say day. Daylight come and we want go home. A beautiful bunch, a ripe banana. Daylight come and we want go home. Like the deadly tarantula. Daylight come and we want go home. With 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch. Daylight come and we want go home. 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch. Daylight come and we want go home. Day, we say day, oh. Daylight come and we want go home. Day, we say day, we say day. Daylight come and we want go home. Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and we want go home. Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and we want go home. Day-o, day-o. Daylight come and we want go home. Day, we say 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 day-o. Daylight come and we want go home. Day-o, day-o. Daylight come and we want go home. Day, we say 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 day-o. Daylight come and we want go home. Daylight come and we want
Good morning. Feel like dancing. Welcome to Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Fran Flieger. I'm your worship associate for this morning's service. Cedar Lane is a community, a religious community where love works. Whether you're joining us in person or online, know that whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your gender, identity, beliefs, or immigration status, you are welcome here. If you're new to Cedar Lane, please raise your hand so that the ushers and greeters can offer you a welcome gift. Anybody new? No? Good. Also in your package, where your gift is a brochure that talks about Cedar Lane, and also there's a place for you to share information with us. So if you want to share that, please place the form that's on the back of that brochure in the offering plate today. Also hope that you'll join all of us in the lounge after the service for coffee and conversation. One of the ways that love works at Cedar Lane is through our pastoral care team. Today's pastoral visitor is Alatha Porturi. She's sitting right over there. She'll be available at the Joys and Sorrows table during and after the service if you'd like to share a care or concern. So at this time, I'd like to invite everybody to please greet your neighbor, especially the new folks. Reverend Abhi gave me some tips. He said I raced through, but I felt it last time. I didn't, I was just reading. When I got to the middle, I was just reading. And I didn't even pause to wait for the ushers. And it was like, I'm just reading.
Body gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. Let us open our hearts to love, our minds to reason, our souls to joy, and our lives to service, amazed by the miracle of life, grateful for the gift of community, inspired by the power of living faith. We are gathered here. In a moment, I'm going to reintroduce you to someone really special. And you might remember her from last year's coming of age service when she gave this congregation a charge that had a good number of us on our feet. I want to introduce you to Eleanor Clemens Cope. Come on up, Eleanor. Eleanor is 15, a fourth-generation UU and activist, particularly focused on climate justice. She's a leader and co-founder of MoCo on Climate and part of the Sunrise Movement. And Eleanor has a few words to say to you before we light the chalice today. So thanks, Eleanor.
Thank you. All right, good morning, Cedar Lane.
Good morning.
My name is Eleanor Clemens Cope, and on Friday, I joined about 4 million kids and adults from all over the world in a global strike to demand climate action. I saw a lot of people from Cedar Lane there, and thank you for coming to Climate Strike. What we are doing together is demanding generational justice by rebelling against business as usual. We strike because the fires in California and the floods in the Midwest and the hurricanes in Texas and Puerto Rico and the Bahamas are all fueled by climate change. We strike because our oceans are filled with trash, and the sixth mass extinction is well underway. We strike because the Earth has warmed by 2 degrees in the last century, and the greatest impact will be on the people that are the most vulnerable: poor people, indigenous people, people of color, and children. Scientists say that we only have 11 years left to avoid a climate catastrophe. They say that we need to reach zero carbon emissions by 2030. And if we can't reach that, we have started an uncontrollable chain reaction that will lead to the end of civilization as we know it. This is a fight for climate, for jobs, and for justice. The climate strike stands in solidarity with the kids of Flint, Michigan dealing with polluted water, the Dakota oil pipeline protesters at Standing Rock, and the striking auto workers who want good-paying jobs. Because any fight for justice is our fight too. With solidarity, we will win. I want to make sure that everyone here has signed our student petition. There's a petition that demands that MCPS limit carbon emissions, teach students the science of climate change and why it's happening and how we can stop it, and allow excused absences for 3 days of civic action so that they support student advocacy instead of punishing it. Come and find the climate justice table after the service and pick up a flyer. It looks like this. And it has the petition information. You can scan the QR code or type in the bit.ly link to sign the petition. And then join me and other students next Friday, 9/27 at 4:30 at the flagpole at MCPS's Carver Center in Rockville. Support the petition and demands to the Board of Education. The information is also on this flyer. My sister and I are so grateful to share our lives and our work for justice with the UU faith community. Thank you so much.
Eleanor. We're really blessed to have you as a member of our congregation, and much more than applause and standing up is showing up to support Eleanor and Rosie and this entire generation that is facing the climate crisis that will affect them far more deeply than us. As Eleanor moves to light the chalice, I invite you to rise again in body or spirit as we speak together the words that are found in your order of celebration. We kindle the chalice as a symbol of the wondrous gift of free religious community. May it renew our faith in the goodness and beauty of life. May it reaffirm the way of the open mind and generous heart. May it rekindle the flame of memory and hope. And may it reclaim the vision of an earth made fair with all her people. You may be seated. Thank you, and thank you, Eleanor.
This morning we welcome our intern minister, Dana Edwards, who is beginning her ministry here for the next 2 years through a ritual of commissioning. Dana, you have sought a congregation to companion you on this path towards ministerial formation and fellowship, to nurture your gifts and to receive your religious service and leadership. Cedar Lane is deeply honored to companion you on this journey as your teaching congregation.
As a member of Cedar Lane's ministerial team, you enter into a covenant of mutual support, collaboration, and service. I welcome you as a colleague among us, joined in the blessings and challenges of ministerial service at Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church.
Thank you.
Dana, as your primary mentoring colleague, I commit to put you to work in whatever way I can, and make sure that you're following that long heritage of how interns tend to be invited to service in our tradition. No, I commit to grant you the freedom to allow your call to ministry unfold, blossom according to its own path, and be there to support you and, when needed, guide you, so you do not carry the challenges and the burdens of ministry alone.
Dana, I invite you to join us in congregational life as our intern minister, as both a student of ministry and a wonderful ministerial presence. Do you accept this invitation to receive and to offer ministry with us?
Mindful of its privileges and its responsibilities, I take up the ministry to which you commission me. I do pledge myself, so far as it lies in me, to speak the truth and love both publicly and privately, and to fulfill the responsibilities to the best of my abilities. It is with understanding and faith that I pledge to continue our mutual search, to nurture and kindle curiosity, to encourage growth and sensitivity, to foster a sense of wonder about the universe, and to act courageously in our quest for truth, peace, and justice.
Let us now join in speaking the commissioning words of welcome, which are printed in your order of celebration. Dana Edwards, we celebrate that you have chosen to learn from and to serve Cedar Lane. And we honor your call to ministry that has brought us together. As a congregation and as individuals, we covenant to take seriously our responsibilities as a teaching congregation, nurturing your gifts of religious leadership, inviting you into the joys, sorrows, and challenges of our lives and our shared life together. We welcome you as our intern minister.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Please rise in body and or in spirit to sing For All That Is Our Life. Number 128, the words are on screen and in the gray hymnal. Let us center ourselves, inviting our mind, body, and spirit into this space, made sacred by our presence and the presence of the Holy, known by many names, in which we live, move, breathe, and have our being. I invite you to get comfortable in your space. Place your feet on the floor and settle in. Bringing yourself into easy alignment with your breathing rhythms. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so, and go deeper within to that place of silence and honesty, love and compassion and courage, and settle in. Be here now. Take a deep breath, hold it for a moment, and release it gently through your mouth, saying to yourself, be here now. Let's breathe together. Breathe in peace. Breathe out love. Breathe in peace. Breathe out love. Each week, we gather as a caring community to be present and be witness to the joys and sorrows, triumphs and disappointments in our lives. In this living sanctuary, we come together as companions on life's journey. When I hold up my arms, I invite you to say, "We hold you in our hearts." If you are living through the small and extraordinary milestones of life, we breathe and send love with the exhale and the words, "We hold you in our hearts." If parenting is your primary spiritual practice, we hold you in our hearts. Breathing in and filling with love. Breathing out, sharing love. If you are mourning a loss, we hold you in our hearts. If you live with or care for someone with grief or chronic pain, we hold you in our hearts. With a breath, we send and share love with the words, if you are struggling with illnesses seen and unseen, with mental illness or addictions, we hold you in our hearts. If you have suffered abuse or injustice, we hold you in our hearts. If you are a survivor, with a breath, we send and share love with these words, we hold you in our hearts. In our Cedar Lane community, we mourn the passing of Cedar Lane member Mary Ellen Murphy, who passed away peacefully on September 16th after a long illness. We hold Paul and Vicky Strella in our hearts as they mourn the loss of Paul's mother, Carmela, on September 6th. We send healing wishes and rejoice for Mary Ann Dillon, who is with us here this morning as she recovers from a stroke, and to Karen Doss as she recovers from surgery. We hold you in our hearts. Our caring extends beyond Cedar Lane to all those whose lives are lost or impacted by calamities or violence in our world. Especially this week, we rise in solidarity with the millions worldwide who took part in the biggest climate protest in history, demanding urgent action to tackle global heating. We hold you in our hearts. Would you join me in the spirit of prayer or reflection? Nameless one of many names, be with us in the joys and sorrows of our lives. Comfort us, challenge us, companion and guide us. Help us find the courage to live with the sorrow of loss and to reach out in sympathy and need. Expand our vision with hope so we may always remember the unending circle of life and death and love reborn that surrounds us with kindness and compassion. And keep us ever mindful of the powerful possibilities of love as we journey through all the seasons of our lives. In the name of all that is holy and life-sustaining and life-affirming, we say, Shalom, Salam, Om Shanti, Amen, blessed be. And as we join our hearts in silence together, those who are grieving a loss, or commemorating the anniversary of the loss of a loved one, or invited to rise in body and or in spirit. Let us enter the silence together. May the love which comes from many sources, the love that will not let us go, let us down, or let us off the hook, be in us and among us, now and forevermore. So may it be. There are many reasons and purposes for a religious community, but one of the main purposes is to encourage each of us and all of us to grow more generously in spirit, in substance, and in action, in service of a life much larger than our own. So we demonstrate that commitment to cultivating a generosity of spirit through this ritual of giving and receiving through the free will offering on Sundays. Because this gives us an opportunity to come together, to be together, to witness together to the mission and ministry of this, our spiritual home, and to live it out in tangible ways. If you're a guest this morning, a visitor, I invite you to place that card that you were invited to fill out earlier, and let the plate pass you by in peace. You are welcome here, and you do not have to pay to be here. So as the ushers come forward to give and receive an offering to sustain the mission and ministry of Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church, I invite us to give from that deeper place of generosity, joy, and service. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. the words of the Reverend Lynn Unger, through the work of our lives and the work of our hands and our hearts, our love is made real. May we be grateful for all that we bring and share to make this a beloved community. It is my great pleasure to welcome my dear friend and colleague, the Reverend Dr. Roger Jones, to Cedar Lane this morning. Roger and I met when I arrived at Meadville Lombard Theological School in Chicago in late August 1994, so 25 years ago. And I was fresh off the plane, so to speak, and showed up with two huge suitcases, one of which Roger kindly schlepped up 3 flights of stairs to the guest apartment, and did not realize what he had said yes to when he agreed to be my student mentor, being a second-year student. And from then on, he's been carrying my burdens. Gladly. Roger was a wonderful mentor in seminary and guided me through what was an incredibly challenging time, not just navigating the academic maze that was the University of Chicago and Meadville Lombard Theological School, but also the maze of living by myself in Chicago. And our friendship continued and into our ministries, and to this day that I am delighted that Roger agreed to come and preach at my request on a subject that, typically ministers don't like to preach about, money. And there and again, you see what a wonderful mentor he is, that he agreed to take on that. Of course, as guest preachers, we come, when we go to congregations, we preach and then we leave. So I look forward to holding the blessings that you're going to leave me with, Roger. But having heard him preach at the 9 a.m. service, I will tell you, you're in for a treat. Roger serves the Unitarian Universalist Society of Sacramento, California, as their senior minister. He was called to Sacramento as the family minister in 2008, and then called as the senior minister in 2014. But before serving in Sacramento, Roger served congregations in Sunnyvale, California, in Minnesota, and Indiana. So let's, friends, give a warm Cedar Lane welcome to the Reverend Dr. Roger Jones.
Good morning, Cedar Lane. It's great to be here and to see all of you and be in this place that I've heard so much about and known so many people from, both ministers and lay leaders. And thank you, Abhi and Katie and Fran and all the musicians. It was a year ago this Sunday that Abhi was in our pulpit in Sacramento, and I was sitting there behind him, and he was giving a sermon to help us celebrate our 150th anniversary as a congregation in Sacramento. And one side was my ministerial colleague, and the other was the worship associate. And one leaned over and said, "When can we get him to come back?" And the other one said, "Yeah." And I said, "Hold on, let's wait till he finishes with this sermon." And so I did ask him to come back, and he said, "Well, if you come to Cedar Lane, I'll come back." So I look forward to having him, and my congregation looks forward to having him, and they send their greetings. We have 2 readings this morning. The first one is from ancient scripture, from the 27th chapter of the book of Genesis. This is a translation by Eugene Peterson. When Isaac had become an old man and was nearly blind, he called his eldest son Esau and said, "My son." "Yes, father." "I'm an old man. I might die any day now. Do me a favor. Get your quiver of arrows and your bow and go out in the country and hunt me some game. And then fix me a hearty meal, the kind you know I like, and bring it to me to eat so that I can give you my personal blessing before I die. Isaac's wife, Rebekah, took the dress-up clothes of her older son, Esau, and put them on her younger son, Jacob. She took goat skins and covered his hands and the smooth nape of his neck. And then she placed the hearty meal that she had fixed and the fresh bread that she had baked into the hands of her son, Jacob. He went to his father and said, "My father." "Yes, which son are you?" Isaac said. Jacob answered, "I'm your firstborn son, Esau. I did what you told me. Come now, sit up and eat of my game so that you can give me your personal blessing." "So soon?" Isaac said. "How did you get it so quickly?" "Because your God cleared the way for me." "Come close, son. Let me touch you. Are you really my son Esau?" Jacob moved close to his father Isaac. Isaac felt him and said, "The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau." He didn't recognize him because his hands were made hairy like his brother Esau's. But as he was about to bless him, he pressed him, "You're sure you are my son Esau?" "Yes, I am." Isaac said, "Bring the food so I can eat of my son's game and give you my personal blessing." Jacob brought it to him, and he ate. He also brought him wine, and he drank. Then Isaac said, "Come close, son, and kiss me." He came close and kissed him, and Isaac smelled the smell of his clothing. Finally, he blessed him. "The smell of my son is like the smell of the open country, blessed by God. May God give you of heaven's dew and earth's bounty of grain and wine. May peoples serve you and nations honor you. You will master your brothers, and your mother's sons will honor you. Those who curse you will be cursed, and those who bless you will be blessed." And then, right after Isaac had blessed Jacob and Jacob had left, Esau showed up from the hunt. He also had prepared a hearty meal. He came to his father and said, "Let my father get up and eat of his son's game so that he may give me his personal blessing." Isaac said, "And who are you?" Here ends the first reading.
Our second reading comes from an advice column entitled Money Manners. It's written by Gene Fleming and Leonard Schwartz. Here's the headline for a column from an issue of the newspaper after the holiday season entitled, "What to Do When Exchanging Gifts with a Cheapskate." Now, this letter won't rival the epistles of the Apostle Paul, but it is heartfelt.
Dear Jean and Leonard, it happened again this Christmas. Each year, my husband and I ask his brother what he and his family of four would like for Christmas, and each year William reels off a list of pricey items that end up costing us a couple $100. In return, he sends us next to nothing. This year, a bargain basket DVD and some drugstore bubble bath. I can't stand another year of opening William's cheap gifts and then getting the credit card bill for the nice things we sent his family. What should we do? By the way, the guy's not hurting for money. Signed, Nora.
Dear Nora, if you can't stand playing Santa to William Scrooge, stop asking William what's on his guest list, his wish list. As it is, you and your husband are putting yourselves in the position of either having to buy the expensive gifts William wants or ignoring his requests. Next year, instead of asking, buy your brother-in-law and his family gifts of your choosing, gifts that you won't resent having bought when William's presents arrive.
Sometimes I'm right, and I can be wrong. My own beliefs are in my song. The pictures of
Thank you. Thank you very much. Get your finances in order. So read the headline in my local newspaper's Business and Money section on the 1st of January, New Year's Day. The article gave us a checklist: reduce debt, watch your spending habits, and get a discipline of saving money. Practical, important help. However, beneath getting our finances in order is everyone's complicated relationship with money. This is a spiritual issue, and like other spiritual issues, it can't be taken care of by New Year's resolutions and checklists alone. It takes practice, patience, and honesty with ourselves. Nearly every religion or faith tradition has something to say about money, wealth, possessions, and resources, and about how we use those resources for the needs of others. Liberal religious communities like this one and mine back in Sacramento affirm the importance of this life more than some future life. We do not dwell on otherworldly concerns, but on how we live in this world as it is. As a medium of exchange, money is one way that we connect with this world. It's part of my calling and my ministry to invite people to pay more attention to our relationship with money. If we don't pay attention, we risk ignoring its power and its place in our lives. We are at risk of confusing money with our self-worth and our sense of possibility. In relationships, we risk seeing money or using it as a substitute for love or as an expression of our hurt or hostility. We need to pay attention, be honest, show some patience with ourselves. For the next few minutes, I would like to invite you to go with me on a visit home where I grew up in the Middle West of this country, a visit to see my relatives. In the year prior to my visit, an aunt has passed away. My uncle, her husband, had died suddenly 45 years earlier when I was 5, the same age as their son. After my uncle's death, she moved herself and her son far away from our state. I hadn't seen my aunt for decades before her death. On this day, I'm in my hometown, and I'm visiting 3 other relatives, 2 cousins and their mother. "Did you get your money?" one of them asks. I look puzzled. "Didn't you get the letter from the lawyer?" "No." They tell me all about it. My late Uncle Roy's estate had included an amount of money to be left for all of his nieces and nephews, money to be dispersed if any of it remained after his widow would pass away. Now, she has passed away, so every group of children of my uncle's brothers and sisters would get a lump sum of $48,000 to be divided among them in equal checks. This means that a family of 3 siblings will share a bequest, getting $16,000 each one. A family of 2 siblings would get $24,000 each, and a lucky only child would get the full $48,000. I express my surprise at this news. They go get the letter and bring it to me. I read through it. I look at the list of names on it, my various cousins, my older brother, everyone in my generation, except for me. "I'm not listed here," I say. "Well, honey, you weren't born yet," says one of these relatives. "Yes, I was," I say. "I was 5 when he died, the same age as their son." I think, surely I was too young for Uncle Roy to decide that I was a bad nephew and leave me out of his will on purpose. He just forgot me. "What are you going to do?" one of them asks, getting excited and curious and nosy. "Well, I'm not sure," I say. "I guess I'll ask my brother about it. Anyway, it's only money." For the rest of that visit, we make small talk, but my mind is racing. Let's see, with my brother, each of us should receive $24,000, but I won't. I was left out. Did my brother get this letter? I got here yesterday and stayed with him, and he hasn't said anything about it. Is he hiding this from me? I need to ask him. The cousins in the room tell me about a recent phone call they received from another cousin in another state about this money. That cousin is the most outwardly accomplished, the most outwardly successful person in our generation of the family. Yet in spite of a great career and a two-person household income, that successful cousin never seems to have any money. And consequently, that cousin has been in touch with all the others on this list to prod them about the money with the instruction, sign those papers, return them to the lawyer so the lawyer can forward the checks to us. I realize that neither that cousin nor any of the others will feel like including little old me in some revised calculations to receive some of that inheritance. The only chance rests in my big brother's hands. My reaction to this news of a surprise inheritance or a potential inheritance is like not feeling hungry at all and then walking into a dining room with a table of steaming, delicious food. Suddenly, I want some of everything. So I get in my rental car and I hit the highway to go to my brother's house. We have planned a dinner out, just the two of us. I think, I'll wait and see if he brings this up. No, I need to get this over with. I'm feeling worried because my brother has been worried about money. It's quite unrealistic in my opinion. He was able to retire early. His wife has a great job with benefits. Their house is paid off, and they have a vacation rental property. However, at the time of this visit, we are in the middle of the Great Recession, and he has no confidence in the government, and the angry programs he listens to on talk radio just add to his anxiety. Well, I won't make a big deal out of this, I think. Fights over money can tear a family apart. Before today, I didn't even imagine having any more money than my own earnings and my own savings. I think, if he gives me half of that money, I'll give most of it away. Yes, I will. In the book of Genesis, the brothers Jacob and Esau fight over their birthright, their inheritance. Esau, as the firstborn son, traditionally has the birthright. Yet in a story that happens earlier in Genesis than the one that I just read to you, in that story, Esau has returned from a hunting trip empty-handed, and he is hungry. So hungry that he accepts a bowl of red lentil stew from his brother Jacob on Jacob's terms. And that is that Esau will give up his birthright to Jacob. Esau trades his future inheritance for the short-term gain of satisfying his appetite, his craving. Later on, as we heard in the reading, the younger brother Jacob gets his mother's help to impersonate his older brother. He tricks his blind, aged father into giving the fatherly blessing to him instead of to Esau. In the story, this blessing can't be taken back, even after the stealing is exposed. This theft launches a tumultuous future for the Hebrew people. It sets a standard of disharmony for the whole human family. The first family feud over an inheritance. I don't want my brother and me to end up like those guys. I just want us to share. Now, I'm in the kitchen of my brother's house. He is 12 years older, bigger and stronger than I am. He is standing, I'm sitting. I need to ask you about something. I tell him about my discovery and ask him if he's received the letter that I just read at my cousin's house earlier in the day. No. Well, the others have, I say. You will. I explain the way the letter is written and the list of names and the situation and the humor of being the forgotten one. He doesn't get it. I avoid asking straight out, will you give me half of your money? I try explaining it some more. See, each set of siblings has to share a lump sum among themselves. Since there are two of us, each would get, oh, he says. He gets it. Yeah, I'll give you some of that money if you're nice to me. I want to ask, what do you mean by some? How big a fraction is some? And what do you mean by nice? As a child and a youth, I was not nice to my big brother. Looking back on my childhood, I see that I was taking out a lot of my frustration and my rage on him. I was angry at our parents. They were older than most other kids' parents, distracted by alcoholism, physically unhealthy and fragile. And as a boy, I was careful not to be a burden. My big brother was happy, athletic, and popular, a safe target for my hostility and strong enough to take it. And he took a lot of it from me. My brother married before finishing college against our angry father's wishes and insistence. After college, he was unemployed. He mowed lawns to make money, and he borrowed money from our parents. Our dad used this to make my brother feel bad. Every $100 loan was an I told you so. On my birthday one year, I got a windfall of cash from various relatives, and I was mowing lawns myself by this time. So as an 11-year-old, I was feeling flush. My brother came to me and asked for a loan, $100. He didn't want to ask Dad again and risk more criticism and ridicule. I lent him the cash and confirmed the terms of the loan by U.S. mail. At age 11, I really liked using the typewriter, and I would send him periodic statements of the debt that he owed me. And sometime later, I started sending postcards announcing, now past due. I don't recall if he paid me right away or called me names or got our mom to tell me to lay off. It was not a nice way to treat him. I realize now that in pestering my brother like that, I was trying to make a connection with him, an awkward, hostile, counterproductive 11-year-old's way of connecting. When he moved closer to our home, he made money doing small engine repair in our garage, lawnmower engines and things like that. I served as his agent, putting advertisements in the newspaper and taking phone calls from potential customers. And he paid me a small percentage for this role. I took business reply envelopes from our father's office and used whiteout to change the name on those envelopes to my own, and I would send my brother statements in the mail telling him what my commission was, letting him know that he owed me $2 here, $3 there. Now he doesn't owe me anything, and there's an enormous check on its way to him. He can choose to split it with me, or he can quite legally choose to keep it all. Fortunately, my brother, the firstborn son, has not held a grudge about how mean and hurtful I was as a kid. He apparently has granted forgiveness to me for my behavior. But will he also grant me a full half of the money? He could say that he wants to save it for his own 2 children who have grown up and moved away. Money has such pull for us, such power over us. Of course it does. It's how we interact for the things that we need and want, and for the talents and work that we have to offer. As a medium of exchange, money simplifies our transactions. Yet because it stands for so much that we need and want and love and fear, money makes life complicated. Most of us learn our habits regarding money from the habits and the attitudes of the family culture in which we grow up. Growth and healing from unhelpful attitudes will call for attention, honesty, practice, and support. I still have some annoying habits around money, and I have my own share of anxieties around money, but in many ways I have healed and grown regarding it. And the support for my growth has come from 2 sources: my friends and my church communities. Friends who are generous no matter their wealth or poverty. Religious communities that remind me of the abundance and goodness of life. In a spiritual community like this one, I'm reminded to appreciate my blessings and to give thanks. I learn about the needs of our hurting world beyond these walls. And I learn about generosity. As a Unitarian Universalist over the past 35 years, I have learned that it's possible to stretch myself and give deeply and to feel good about it. I can give of my money, my talents, and my time and feel joy in it and feel freedom and purpose. I can also feel good about earning money, feel gratitude not only to have it, but feel satisfaction that I have something to offer that people choose to support. But as a fearful child from a family that fought about money, I had no idea what it meant spiritually to be paid or to pay others. No idea what it meant spiritually to give or receive. I did not have a sense of ease or freedom about money. As a boy, I went with my mother on Sunday mornings to a mainline, middle-of-the-road kind of church. We paid a monthly pledge to the church, but I didn't learn what stewardship really meant. Back in the 1970s, when I was growing up, many churches were timid about making the connection between money and spiritual health, money and your spiritual values. I drifted away from church involvement until I was about 24. And then I started exploring various congregations. In the ones that I liked and stuck around at, I found people who looked at serious matters honestly. And that included the matters of money and stewardship. I learned from them what stewardship means. And this is what it means to me. Stewardship means taking a good look at what has been handed on to you for your use and your care. Whether it's this whole wide earth, or your country, or your neighborhood, or your church, all of it is handed on to us for using, tending, sharing, and passing along to others. We stand on the shoulders of generations and institutions that existed long before we did. We live for a moment in the stream of life, and it flows on. Stewardship is about connectedness and about interdependence. It's about belonging to one another, belonging to the past and the future. As a new young Unitarian Universalist, I learned in our congregations that there are people who have diverse ideas about religious questions including people with the idea that there is no God, or the idea that we can't know if there's a God or what the nature of God is. Yet those people still have a practice of giving and sharing. From lay leaders and ministers in UU congregations, I learned the idea and the standard to set a target of giving away 10% of my annual income every year. And the suggestion of taking a step toward that target every year. I now give about 6% of my yearly gross income to the congregation I serve, and another 5% of income to other causes and organizations that I care about. I didn't learn to do this from my family. I learned it from people like you. But my family came through. At least my big brother did. He eventually did give me a half share of that inheritance, but he dragged it out over time, sending me 2 installments in the mail, weeks apart. I did not send a bill this time. Fortuitously, the checks arrived not long before I entered a doctor of ministry program on a part-time basis, and some of it helped with tuition costs. And then our congregation in Sacramento launched a capital fundraising campaign for a major building expansion and renovation on our campus. And that was another good use for an unexpected windfall. Nearly every religious tradition has something to say about money. Not because it's bad, and not because it's worthy of worship either. We should not idolize money, nor should we avoid it. But we can take it seriously. Like most resources, it is limited. Like our time, our attention, our talents, our skills, our health, it is limited and it is important. However much or however little we have of money, how we deal with it is a way to practice and grow in our sense of stewardship and interdependence. We can practice and we can strive to gain our money responsibly, receive it with gratitude, lend it or borrow it carefully, spend it thoughtfully, and share it with joy. Responsible, grateful, careful, thoughtful, joyful. Joyful. So may it be. Blessed be, and amen. Now I invite you to join in singing number 201 and rise as you're comfortable. Glory, glory, hallelujah.
Glory, glory, hallelujah, since I laid my burden down. Glory, glory, hallelujah, since I laid my burden down. Feel like shouting, hallelujah, since I laid my burden down. Glory, hallelujah, since I laid my burden down. Life is sweeter, so much sweeter, since I laid my burden down. Life is sweeter, so much sweeter, since I laid my burden down. Feel like dancing, hallelujah, since I laid my burden down. Feel like dancing, hallelujah, since I laid my burden down. Life is shining, love is shining all around me, since I laid my burden down. Life is shining all around me, since I laid my burden down.
Please join hands for the closing words. May you depart in peace and return in joy. For all who see God, may God go with you. For all who embrace life, may life return your affection. For all who seek a right path, may a way be found and the courage to take it step by step.
Go in peace, go making peace. Live gently, love mightily, and bow to the mystery. So may it be. Please be seated for the postlude.
Okay.